Boom, boom, boom. Welcome back to Ep.5 of the 708 Bench Mob Podcast. I am Pete Augustiniak, and I am joined today by Lucas and Noah Birchman. I just want to start out the episode before we get into anything. I got to point out the interesting backgrounds we got this week, guys. We have behind me the beautiful Coleman Coliseum in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, home of the number one team in the country.
Ugly.
Gonna go beat Tennessee tonight, but I see we got Noah in his State Farm Center, second best arena in college basketball, and then Lucas with Brad Underwood. Good picture, Lucas.
That's me. I'm next to Brad Underwood.
Yeah,
that's me next to him. So
there you go. That's a good picture. Anyways, getting into the episode, there's not as much to cover this week, but obviously we're a little late to it, but post NBA trade deadline. A lot of big stuff happened, so we'll get into that. We have the NBA standings breakdown, kind of again going to the post trade deadline. How does that affect certain teams? Then we get into your college basketball talk, and then we'll finish it up with our locks and dogs of the week. So yeah, let's get right into it with the NBA post trade deadline. I think that this is something that every basketball podcast does out there, but I think we have a pretty good take on it. Anyways, well, going into Thursday, I would have said that the biggest trade was Kyrie to Dallas.
I think we did say that, actually. I think all three of us said this will be the biggest trade that goes down.
Did. Yeah, and then here comes Kevin Durant going to Phoenix, which I'll let you guys talk about it in a second, but I did not see this coming. Apparently it was a private trade request. He did not want it public, and it shocked me personally. But Lucas, I don't know what you thought of that trade.
Yeah, I was shocked. I literally just woke up getting ready to go to school one morning, and next thing you know, Katie gets traded. And I look at my phone and it's Instagram, and Katie's on the Suns. So I mean, a little surprising. I didn't think he'd be on the team next year, but I definitely did not think a trade would be able to formulate that quickly. And it was a pretty big return for coming together in the width of about a day and a half. So shocking, really. And the Suns definitely are now leapfrogging if not the best team in the West, top 2 or 3 for sure. So
they're the best. I mean, they're the most complete team in the West. It's not close. I think you're talking about them and the Nuggets now, and the Nuggets can't keep up with that star power between Booker and KD, and CP3 still playing at a pretty high level, and then DeAndre Ayton, who's averaging close to 20 a game. That team is loaded now, and I think they have to be the legitimate favorites to come out of the West now.
Yeah,
but I will say the Nets did get a somewhat decent haul for him.
A great haul. Bunch of first-round picks and McCall Bridges, man. That guy's a dog.
And I think a lot of people talking about this trade slept on it, but yeah, McCall Bridges is great. He's got a huge contract, which could potentially hurt the Nets in the future. But at this time, it doesn't. I think the steal of that trade is also getting Cam Johnson. I think the fact that they got all those first-round picks, Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson out of that trade. And
I know.
So that's big for the Nets, but the craziest thing about that is even the Suns with trading Mikal Bridges, trading Cam Johnson, dumping Jay Crowder, their bench still is not horrendous. It's not great, but it's not a terrible bench. For getting Kevin Durant, you would have think their bench would have been a lot worse.
I mean, but I feel like that's the reason the Suns not prided themselves on, obviously, because they had Booker. But the year they made the finals, they had good bench depth. Cam Payne was definitely having the best year of his career. Cam Johnson was coming off the bench that year. So they were a very good bench team 2 years ago when they were in the finals. And like you said, now they're weaker. Not as bad as it could have been. Definitely weaker on their bench. But it really doesn't matter when you have KD and D-Book. And yeah, CP3.
Yeah.
Yeah, team's good.
I think they're the best in the West.
I think it came together pretty smoothly from what I've heard. like it seemed like it happened all of a sudden, but Katie was looking at the Suns in free agency, and he really wanted to go there and requested that he got traded to the Suns, and the Nets made that happen.
Yeah, I think yeah, I saw something about that too, that also it was one of those he would have like denied any other trade if it wasn't Phoenix. I don't think he wanted
Yeah.
if he wasn't going to go to Phoenix, he would have just waited till the off season.
Yeah. But I mean, that's obviously the biggest move. But there were a lot of like D'Lo to the Lakers. That's not necessarily a smaller move, but it's interesting.
A
How
lot
much
of
does he
moves
help the Lakers?
that made teams better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that in the next few years, as some of these top teams in the West currently their stars get older and stuff, I think in like 5 years, you mark my word on this, I think the top two teams in the West are going to be the Jazz and Oklahoma City within 5 years.
They're
They've
the
both
most
got
well set up.
they've both got young cores. They both have a ton of draft picks. I mean, not this draft, but next year's draft, so the 2024 draft. If I remember correctly, Oklahoma City has like 5 unprotected first round picks and then like a top 10 protected. So
Yeah, I do think that is their big year for
if
draft
that
picks.
lands outside of the top 10, they have 6 first round picks, and they're not going to draft 6 guys. So you can package a few of those to bring in another star because they have a ton of cap space too.
Yeah, and Danny Ainge is trying to do the same thing in Utah. But I mean, you could look on paper and say, yeah, they could be the best because they have great draft capital or they have a lot of cap space to get another superstar. That's all great, but a lot can go wrong, busts, and so on and so forth. And also, Luka's still going to be in the West, so there's also that to think
Yeah,
about.
I'm not denying that by any means, but based on the way that the Jazz and Thunder have drafted the last couple of years, I think it's safe to say that they're both front offices kind of have a good idea. Their scouting departments, I think, have done them wonders in the past couple of years. But
I
yeah,
agree.
I mean, you like you said, you could have busts, you could have injuries, all sorts of stuff. But on paper, they're set up to be the top 2 teams in the West in the future.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree.
I mean, I like Cam Reddish to the Blazers.
Yeah, I mean, we talked
It
a
was
little bit about him last
yeah,
episode, and I think about when with like a maybe fit to the Bulls. But I like it. I think in his first game he started with them, and I mean, I think that I don't. The dude's like a 6'6" shooter, good defender, so it never hurts. And like the Blazers are obviously trying to get a 1 or 2 last years with Dame and trying to make a deep run in the playoffs, and maybe a 3-and-D guy like Cam can kind of play a role into that.
yeah. I mean, you look at the Knicks. It was basically I don't know what else was in that trade, but if I'm not, it was a bunch of minor stuff, but it was mostly just a Josh Hart for Cam Reddish swap, if I'm correct
Yeah,
Yeah,
with
and
that.
Josh Hart gets reunited with Jalen Brunson, and I
Yeah,
think he's just a really good fit for that team, regardless of his connections with Jalen Brunson.
yeah, he kind of fits the role of a good defender, good role player. Yeah,
Great rebounder.
he can go out and give you like 20 points if he needs to, but on the team like that that has Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, you don't need a guy to if Josh Hart can go out there and give you like 12, 5, and 4 a game and defend the ball well, I mean, the Knicks could be a sneaky team in the East.
they definitely
Yeah.
can. I mean, a lot
If they
hinges
stay
on
healthy.
Randall and Brunson, and it's
If
just
they
like,
stay healthy.
are Randall and Brunson good enough to win a playoff series? I mean, I think you could say yes because
I
Brunson's
think,
a
yeah.
microwave, but they're going to be playing a team that's probably like third or fourth in the where are they right now? Probably like seventh or eighth. So they're going to be playing a top team in the East. So I don't know. That's going to be tough. But I do like what they're doing.
Yeah, I think the craziest part about that team is the fact that a guy like Evan Fournier, who, yeah, he's older, but he's a good 3-and-D guard, is not even in their 10-man rotation.
Yeah, and what's going on with RJ Barrett? I mean, I've seen a little bit about that because RJ's a great player, but is Tibbs like benching him or something? I don't know.
Well, you know Tibbs, and if a guy does something wrong in a practice, it's like Tibbs doesn't like him for the rest of the season. I mean, that was the whole issue with him and Jimmy Butler.
I mean, yeah. But I don't know. I like the Knicks a lot, though. I think they're a decent team, and like Noah said, like that they might have a good enough core to win a playoff series. So
Yeah, I mean, you look at somebody like I don't know if the buyout. I don't think that he's been bought out yet, but somebody like Pat Bev could be a good guard.
yeah. I mean, I saw his podcast that he does with that one dude. I saw it literally. So, and he was talking about what team he's going to go to next.
Yeah,
So,
well, because he got traded to Orlando for Bamba, but
yeah,
obviously Orlando doesn't. There's no point to Pat Bev being on Orlando. So they were
yeah,
gonna buy him out, and then he was gonna go maybe the Clippers.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the Pat Bev
Bulls?
podcast
Bulls, anyone?
with Adam Farrell on Barstool.
Yeah.
Bulls, anyone?
I I mm, I wouldn't mind.
I'm not opposed. The
Not
Bulls didn't
opposed.
make any moves at the deadline, so it's like, why not try to get someone via the buyout? Like,
My
it doesn't.
My question is, do you think Pat Bev would? Because I think at this point, Pat Bev's
I
gonna go
mean,
to a team that gives
he's
him a
from
chance for.
Illinois. Yeah, I mean, he's from Illinois. I mean, the Bulls obviously don't give him a chance at a ring, but
Which I think at this point is what he's looking.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that could be true, but I mean, who knows? I mean, why would Russell Westbrook think about coming to the Bulls? Like, I feel like if you're getting bought out, you're basically ring chasing at that point. So
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know.
absolutely. I'm surprised the Rockets haven't bought out John Wall yet.
Yeah,
I thought that was
It
so.
will. It will happen.
I thought that was so funny that John Wall got sent back to Houston after literally like a week
A
before.
few days after he was destroying the Rockets on his podcast.
He trashed the entire team.
I mean,
But,
yeah, it's not hard to do it though. That team's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah, I think that the West is going to be an interesting race down the stretch overall.
Yeah,
It will be.
I think you could. I mean, like the West got stronger, like post deadline. Like Kyrie and Katie now going to the West. So
Oh,
does
the
it like? I
West
mean,
is 100% the better conference.
how does that affect a team that's low and fighting for a play-in spot like the Lakers?
Oh, the
Like,
Lake.
I think they might be done. I don't think they have much hope just because of how strong the West is now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
getting into the NBA standings, I think the East is
The
interesting.
East is still good.
I mean, you look at like everybody's going to
Well,
be the generic fans on Twitter are going to be like, "Oh, the Bucks beat the Celtics last night," and then if you look at who the Celtics had playing for them last night, it was no Tatum, no Brown, no
and
Williams.
Marcus Smart were all out, and they
Robert
kept that game close.
Robert Williams didn't play either. Like they don't.
Yeah, it's actually more concerning for the Bucks seeing that outcome going to overtime.
Yeah,
I think it just speaks to the depth of the Celtics, and that's why I think they have to be the favorites to win it all.
Yeah,
they're the favorites
I
to
would
come out of the
agree.
East for sure.
Dude,
I would
think
say
they're
win
the
it all at
favorites
this
to win it
point.
all.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the only team
I
that could
think they
really
are.
give them trouble would be the Suns at this point.
They have the guys that can match up. Like,
Can anybody match up with KD
I mean,
though?
It's gonna be
Like, yeah,
Tatum.
Brown
do
can
his-
be on
can do-
Booker.
Tatum and Smart can be on CP3, and they have Robert Williams on Aiton. I mean, I don't know if I think they can match up with them because I think the Celtics are a much deeper team than
No, they are. I mean, they got
Suns.
Brogdon back there too.
That's the thing is in
yeah.
a seven.
And Derek
in a
White,
seven,
Derek White has been going nuclear lately.
Grant Williams is a decent bench big.
Yeah.
Didn't they just pick up Mike Muscala too?
Yeah,
From
well, he's there. Yeah, he's there.
Yeah, they just got him from OKC. But
So
I think in a 7-game series, you know what, I actually have to agree with you guys. In a 7-game series, I don't see anyone that can beat the Celtics.
but who knows? I mean, parity is it's a thing because the Celtics they're not like they have the best record in the NBA, but they don't strike me as like those early, like the 2015, 16 Warriors teams are like, oh, they're going to win the finals.
Yeah,
I just don't feel like you have that with this year with the team.
agreed.
Yeah, but I think who do you think would be the favorite to win it all right now?
Suns or Celtics?
I'll stick with the Celtics.
I think it would be a very interesting NBA final.
I also think you got to give some. I mean, the Bucks. You still have Giannis, Drew Holiday there too. I mean, I don't know if they can beat the Celtics, but I like the Bucks.
Not a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the East is pretty much a 2-team race at this point.
I mean, the Sixers
Yeah,
are
and I
good.
mean, the Sixers are good.
Yeah,
Embiid's got to stay healthy, and that's been an
Which-
issue for them lately.
It has, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you can say the Sixers are going to be competing for the East. I think it's the top 3 teams.
yeah. I think
Yeah,
the
I would agree.
Sixers issue the last few years though has been staying healthy. So unless they can turn that around, it's going to be a Bucks Celtics Eastern Conference Finals.
That's kind of where I'm at
Which is
right now.
yeah.
As a basketball
too.
fan, I would love to watch an Eastern Conference Finals Bucks Celtics. I think
So would
that'd
I.
Me
be
too.
a great 7-game series. And then in the West, it's either going to be Phoenix Dallas or Phoenix Denver.
I don't see Dallas being able to defend at a high enough level to win multiple
Well,
postseason series.
I don't think Dallas has anyone that can match up with Jokic.
Because in reality, exactly, they're gonna have to beat in the second round. They're either gonna have to beat the Suns, Grizzlies, or Nuggets, and maybe they could beat the Grizzlies if the Grizzlies stay on top. But they've been struggling, so I don't see them being able to beat either the Suns or the Nuggets in the second round. So I
They
don't
don't
know if
have
they'd be able to make
They have
it.
no defense. That's their issue.
No, the Mavs are just not a. It looks cool and flashy from an offensive standpoint, but that defense, man. I mean, Reggie Bullock's your best on-ball defender, and
That's a
I mean
problem.
he's not bad, but I mean Kyrie and Luka in your back court. I mean that's a lot. As cool as it is for everyone to say that it's great offensively, and it is, but I think you give and I mean, you're just not getting anything defensively from those guys.
Yeah, I mean it's great in the
I'm
regular
really
season to
down
say
on the Mavericks.
it's great in the regular season to say, oh, we've got 2 guys that can average 30 a night. That's great, but I don't think that in the playoffs it's a different story. You can't. You got to be able to defend in the playoffs, and they can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at I don't know if either one of you guys watched any of that the end of that Minnesota Dallas game the other night when it was literally just Kyrie and Luka passing back and forth to each other for 10 seconds. And Anthony Edwards did a post game interview, and the Timberwolves coach kept asking Anthony Edwards, should we follow up 3? Should we follow? And Anthony Edwards goes, no, let us defend. And he goes, Anthony Edwards and Jalen McDaniels just were on Luka and Kyrie, and it was just Luka and Kyrie passing back and forth. Neither one of them wanted to take a shot. So,
Yeah.
And the issue with that is because Dallas has. So if you get too good up against a team with 2 good defenders, Dallas has nobody else that can score at a high rate.
Yeah, exactly. Christian Wood, come on.
He's not going to take over a game for you.
Let's be serious here. I agree. I think that is basically the NBA, though. I think that's just you got to be able to defend, and I think that the Suns can do that, and I think the Celtics do that at a very high level. So I think as of now, that'd be my finals prediction.
Yeah.
But big game
Yeah.
in college
Yep, I agree.
basketball
Yeah, let's get into
coming up tonight. Yeah, got Vandy, or excuse me, not Vandy. Vandy beat Tennessee, but Tennessee Bama tonight. That's going to be an extremely fun game.
Yep.
Peter, I know you're a Bama fan, so you can talk a little bit more on that.
Yeah. I think I think it's going to be an interesting one tonight. They played great against Auburn in Auburn. Bama started off a little slow, but once Brandon Miller found his rhythm, they really got the ball rolling and ended up coming out with a W in a hostile crowd. In-state rivalry, it's always a tough one. But I think you look at a team like Tennessee, they're coming in losing two straight. That game is in Knoxville. So that's always nice. But you come in losing two straight. They lost to Vanderbilt. And then the game before that lost on a buzzer beater at home to Mizzou. They've lost at home to Kentucky this year, who we have obviously seen as not what anyone thought they were going to be this year. So Tennessee has had some interesting losses. Their free throw shooting struggles at the end of games. I think their offense tends to get stagnant late in games because they don't really have that guy that can go out there and take over a game. And I think that you look at a team like Bama and they've got Noah Clowney and they've got Brandon Miller and they've got Marcus Sears and Javon Quinterly and Armani Burnett. And they've got these guys who are experienced players. Outside of Brandon Miller, these guys have played, and Clowney. Outside of those two, these guys have played multiple years. They've made March Madness runs. They've played in big SEC games like this. Bama comes into this game 12-0 in the SEC. And typically Knoxville is a tough place to play, but this year Tennessee struggled at home, and I don't know. I don't want to say it's a guaranteed win for Bama, obviously, but I think it's going to be. I think Bama should come out being 13-0 in the SEC after this game.
I think Tennessee's mad. They've lost a couple heartbreakers, and I think they're going to come out and give the best team in the nation, the newly coined number one team in the nation, a lot of trouble. Tennessee plays great defense. I'm not saying Tennessee's going to win. I think it's going to be an extremely good game, though, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Noah, you got anything to add for that game?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of already what's been said before. I think it's important to understand, like, Tennessee is always ranked pretty high in the country.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's because they play great defense, but it's been a while since they've had that guy that can take over a game. And I think not having that guy limits you offensively and for what you can do like in a tournament and in big games like this one. So,
Yeah,
I think Bama wins this one tonight, but it could be close because Tennessee does play good defense.
Yeah, Tennessee's up 13-12 at the second TV timeout right now. So
yeah, it's going to be a good game.
And Tennessee's going to come out with that fire. They're at home, chance to be the number one team in the country. Everyone gets up for those games.
Their last two games were 1-point losses.
Yeah.
And
especially that loss to Vandy, that was a poor performance.
Yeah, really bad. And that was a wide open shot. That wasn't some insanely lucky shot at the end of a game. Like you can even
they
say
played bad defense on
the
they played bad defense on the last possession.
And this is what I was saying earlier with Tennessee struggles down the stretch. It's like they almost don't know, like you can tell they're uncomfortable in close games.
Yeah, because like you said, they don't have that one guy they could give it to.
No.
And that's kind of always been Tennessee's problem. Like their best players, Admiral Schofield, Grant Williams are the ones that come to mind.
Kennedy Chandler,
but Kennedy Chandler, that dude's a facilitator.
In college, he was a bucket.
No, I'm sure. He was, yeah. But I'm just saying, I agree with what you said though, Peter. They don't have that one guy that you just give it to at the end of the game, and you have to have that in big games and in March. So
whereas
I think that's important.
Bama has.
Bama has four big guys.
Bama has that one, exactly. They have that one guy, but four of that one guy. Obviously, exactly. Brandon Miller is going to typically be the one. But, you look at games, Brandon Miller, not that he struggled, but it wasn't his greatest games of the year. Auburn, he didn't really pick it up till the end, but Sears took over. Burnett was playing and hitting threes. Quinterly was getting buckets. Bediako was playing great defense. Bama, this is the deepest team Bama's had in a couple of years.
I would argue forever just because they are the number one team in the nation, and that's for a good reason.
And I think Nate Oates is just a fantastic coach.
He is. I agree. He is.
I've seen, obviously, I think Tang is going to win Coach of the Year. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I would have
Maybe
said.
not, dude.
A couple of weeks ago, I would have said he was going to win Coach of the Year. I think I know it's not like Bama was bad last year, but if they continue this streak like they are right now in the SEC play, I think you got to at least look at Nate Oates for Coach of the Year.
You can look at him all you want, and I know Nate Oates' a great coach. Not taking anything away from him, but in my book, it's still Tang. Yeah, I mean, I don't care that they've lost their last 2 or 3 or whatever, and I don't care that they're 7-6 in the Big 12. I don't. They're going to the tournament. They're a top 25 team in the nation. They've got guys like from JUCO school, so now they're a top 25 team. It's Jerome Tang, in my opinion. He's the best coach in the nation. I don't know. I don't think he's the best coach in the nation, but the turnaround is crazy. And to go from literally being predicted last in the Big 12 to now being a tournament team, most likely a top 6 seed in the tournament, is just crazy. And I don't think you could beat that out.
Yeah, no, and I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I just think that nobody's talking about Nate Oates at all for Coach of the Year, and I think he at least, at this point in the season with what Bama's done in SEC play, they at least have to be in the conversation. He has to at least be in the conversation.
Yeah.
But talking about number one team in the nation, Purdue, they're coming back down to earth, which I know I'm a Bama fan, but as a lover of ball, I have to say I do enjoy the fact that Purdue has sputtered as of late.
Yeah, lost 2 of their last 3.
Me too. I mean, I just can't stand Zach Edey.
Yeah, I don't think many people can unless you're a Purdue fan.
I agree. I
Yeah,
think they're going to handily win the Big Ten, but they're kind of being exposed. I just don't see them going super far in March. I mean, I would Sweet 16. I would basically guarantee, but after that, it's going to be a little tougher.
Yeah.
And I it comes down to their guard plays because I think you know what Edie's going to get for you, and it's automatic 20 and 13, if not more.
Yeah.
I do think, though, when you talk about their guards, I mean, they're smaller, not the quickest, like, I wouldn't describe them as bucket getters. They're really good, like straight up shooters. If Edie gets doubled, you force them to have to. And when he gets doubled, Edie's a good passer to the point where he can kick out and hit Warrior or Braden Smith, and they can knock down that jump shot. But can they do that with the ball in their hands against quicker, more fast-paced teams when they get into the tournament? I think that's the one question for Purdue, and the one that they're going to have to answer if they want a chance to go. I would agree that the Sweet 16 for them is it's a lock.
Yeah.
But
it's
once you get in and you have to start playing quicker teams
that
from the Big
exactly.
12 SEC, I mean, then I think Purdue could be in trouble. And it's just that's what it happens when you have your team revolving around a big man. Teams that like to play really fast, and if they can speed you up, you could be really vulnerable. Purdue is still a good team, though. Their guards are still good.
I completely agree with everything you said. Completely.
I mean, you look at that Northwestern game just because that's the most recent one, so you can use that as an example. That obviously it wasn't the whole game, but when they got forced to pressure and Zach Edey had to run up and down the floor, their offense was out of rhythm. And because if they can't just get into a half court offense and feed the ball to Edey in the post, they struggle.
Yeah, they don't have a transition offense because they have 2 guards that are like 6 foot and they're both freshmen who aren't quick. So, and then they just have a bunch. Then the other two guys are like 6'6" shooters, which is not bad when you're post centric. But if you can't go fast, you can't win. You can't go to the final four.
Yeah, they're definitely not. They don't have the ability to run at all.
Yeah, I completely agree. And their guards did not play well against Purdue, and that's most likely why they lost. Their guards just did not shoot the ball well. So
Yeah,
Northwestern
That's
playing
that's the
tonight.
X factor for them. Those two cards, because you know what he's gonna do for you. You know he's gonna be consistent, but if those guards both have an off night like they did against Purdue, that
They're not
team
going to
can
win.
lose in the round of 32.
Yeah, I
yeah.
completely agree. Northwestern just beat them place tonight. They might be on right now. I don't know. They're playing against Indiana. That's gonna be a good game for sure.
Yeah,
What are your guys'
that
thoughts on
game's
that?
not till 8. So,
Okay.
but no, it's in Evanston, which
Tough place, man.
I'll be honest, that crowd is way more electric than I would have ever thought Northwestern fans could be. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I don't really follow Big Ten basketball as much as you guys do, so I'll kind of let you guys talk on this one.
Yeah, I mean, Nerd Western is going to get fans in the building when they're good. I mean, it's what happens. Like Northwestern to me is still a team that for some reason I just don't. But I've been thinking this for a few weeks, and then they just keep winning. So Chris Collin has done a great job this year. I mean, you're talking about a guy who went from the hot seat. Like, I think that's another potential coach of the year candidate, or should be in the conversation for it, looking what he's done. But
For sure.
I mean, that team to me, two inefficient guards, I think, in Bowie and Audige, no real big size in the middle. I think, yeah, I'm not super impressed with Northwestern. I'm not really buying them quite yet. I think they still have a little bit, but I feel dumb for saying that at the same time as they just beat the number one team in the country, or then number one team in the country, and have really good wins. But against Trace Jackson Davis, it's going to be another great test, and that is going to be a great college basketball game that I'll for sure be watching. But I think I'm gonna have to give the edge to Indiana on that one.
I think Northwestern wins tonight if Audige and Boo Booey can play consistently. I mean, you look at Chase Audige in that Purdue game, and until like the last, say, 11 minutes, he had made like 3 field goals the whole game. And he was like 2 of like 9 from the field in the second half. So I think if both of them can play consistent, that Northwestern's going to come out with the win.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying. Northwestern's guards are crazy and efficient, and that's not usually a good recipe for March, but it's not like they shot the ball efficiently
Look at
against
North
Purdue.
Carolina last year, though.
Yeah, but it's not like they shot the ball well against Purdue. Their guards were not efficient at all. I think Bowie was 9 for 20, Audige even worse, and they still won. So I agree with Noah when he says I'm not completely sold on Northwestern.
They play good defense,
but they play amazing
good
defense. They play amazing defense.
That press that they run is really good. It gave
because they have
Purdue,
length on the perimeter. They have a lot of length.
And this is what I was saying.
Just 6'5", yeah, he's a really good defender.
He's a great defender.
Yeah, and this is what I was saying earlier about Purdue struggling with pressure. You saw when Northwestern would run up in that press just till the ball got across half court and then drop back. But it like the broadcaster said, Colin did it just to get Purdue out of their rhythm, and I think that's big because I just think if Northwestern can disrupt Indiana's rhythm as well, obviously Indiana can run more than Purdue, but if you can disrupt offense's rhythm, you're going to give yourself a chance to win in every game.
I agree.
I agree as well.
Yeah. Move over.
Going to the
All right, sorry about the technical difficulties. Noah was having a little bit of Wi-Fi issues, but anyways, Noah, you
Per
want to
usual.
get into that Marquette Xavier game?
I mean, the Marquette Xavier game was great, and I think it just talks about people sometimes forget about the Big East when you're talking about some of the best conferences in college basketball. And I know they don't have the depth of the Big 12 or the Big 10, but I do think the top of that conference is teams can make legitimate runs in March. I think of those teams, Marquette is the best, but I think Providence played a really good game, double overtime yesterday. Big win for them against Creighton. I think the top four teams can match up with anyone in the nation, and I think the Big East come March Madness time can be a threat.
I completely agree. All the teams they're going to send to March are currently ranked right now.
Yes.
So they're not sending any weak links, which means, and I know they're not going to send a lot, they're probably only going to send 4 or 5, but that means those 4 or 5 teams are going to make runs. So I think, like you said, you can call them top heavy, but their top 4 or 5 teams are very, very good. And I think they are really going to make some noise in March.
Yeah.
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 Xavier's up 23-19 near the end of the first in that game.
Low scoring game.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like Xavier a lot. They make shots, contradictory to what we just heard from Peter, but they make shots a lot. They have a really good point guard. I think his name's like Boop. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he's really good. It's like he's their point guard. It starts with a B. It's like
who? What team?
Xavier.
Oh.
It's like
Saleh.
It's like
Saleh Boom.
Saleh Boom. It's Boom. Yeah, it's Boom. And they have good bigs in Fremantle and a Nunge I really like. So I like Xavier a lot. I do think Marquette plays extremely good defense, and Shock is a great coach.
Gotta add Colby Jones defending in there.
Yeah. I just think the top of the Big East is just a very, 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 very strong part of college basketball right now. And I think they're going to make a lot of noise in March. Those 4 or 5 teams that are going to make it.
Yeah.
I think so too.
So kind of getting away from that, top 4 teams in the country. I think
Bama obviously has to be one of them.
And this is
Houston is number 2.
To me, this is in no
Houston
particular order.
No particular order. But Bama definitely is got to be in there for sure. Houston, their shot making ability definitely is in there.
Who I would like to add Bama beat on the road earlier in the year. But.
Well, that's true. That's true. It's a good win. And I still think Purdue is there just because of Edey. I still think they're top 4 in the nation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But that 4th spot is pretty controversial. I mean, I don't really know who I would put in there.
There's a lot of teams that could be in that 4th spot.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know.
The 4th spot is UCLA right now.
Right now.
Dude, I really think Kansas is still a force to be reckoned with. And
I agree.
I think Virginia's up there too.
Yeah,
Virginia's
7th, yeah. And Texas is as well. I think it's one of those Big 12 teams, and I lean more towards Kansas.
So do I. I trust Kansas more than I trust Texas.
Me too. They're more.
I don't know why that is, but more experience. I think so too.
Well, I mean, Texas. I mean, you saw what happened when they played Texas, and
they just lost to Texas Tech.
Really
Texas Tech is on like a murderer's killing streak right now. With just their ranked wins they're pulling off right now. So it just goes to show you that the Big 12 is wild and that nobody's safe because K-State, Iowa State, and Texas, 3 teams in the top half of the Big 12 standings, lose to the worst team in the Big 12. So I think the Big 12 is a mess, and I think Kansas, Texas, and Baylor are the top 3 teams, but I don't know who's going to win it. It's crazy.
I would probably lean Kansas.
I would think, again, I agree because I feel like they're more proven. Texas has great guard play, but other than that, what do they have? Timmy Allen's way too inconsistent.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, but
in Baylor, I saw Baylor's shot chart the other day. It is just like they don't drive. They just shoot 3. They make them, and they play good defense, but they don't take like high percentage shots. So I like Kansas too in the Big 12.
As do I. But I guess we'll end off this episode with our locks and dogs of the week. So let's start with the NCAA lock. Lucas, I'm going to go to you first.
We're filming this a little bit later than we expected, so the games might be going on, but I'm like completely blind right now. I don't know what the score of the Florida Atlantic game is, but Florida Atlantic over Middle Tennessee. And they're only 4.5-point favorites, but FAU is ranked in the top 25. Definitely a sleeper team. So I'm going to a little mid-major action for my NCAA lock.
I like it. Noah, what do you got?
For my NCAA lock, I like I said earlier, I think Indiana over Northwestern. Road favorites, but I think it speaks to how well Indiana has played over the past few weeks. And Indiana is a team to me that really can give all kinds of teams trouble. Because when they get Xavier Johnson back, they're going to have another guard along Hood Fino. And I think that team is really dangerous. I think they beat Northwestern tonight.
Yeah. My
and I am going to add that game is for sole possession in second place in the Big Ten behind Purdue.
Interesting. Should be a good one. My NCAA lock is Virginia minus 16.5 over Louisville.
That I do want to say before Peter, you get into your analysis, that has to be the biggest line I've ever seen in an in-conference game.
In-conference game, yeah.
Yeah.
Louisville is incompetent.
You say that. There's 16 seconds left in the first half. Virginia's only up 3. So
well, interesting.
It's 29-26 at the end of the first half, basically. So
who's at home in that one?
Louisville. It's in the KFC Yum Center.
They are at home and they're dogs by 17.
Favorites on the road.
That was like
Kenny Payne, bro. Kenny Payne needs to go.
That's why I was like, I can't.
And it looks like they're gonna cover. It looks like they're going to cover as of now, and obviously a lot can change with this.
Yeah. Don't say that just yet.
Well, hey, as of right, if the game were to somehow end now, Louisville would cover the plus 16.5. But I think Virginia is going to get it together in the second half. I'm going to take Virginia minus 16.5. So going back up to our NCAA dogs, Lucas, what do you got?
I differ a little bit from Noah here. I have Northwestern over Indiana. And I'm not like in love with Northwestern. Like I said, I'm still kind of skeptical. But I think if they play good defense and Audeja's more efficient than he was against Purdue, I think being at home and in that atmosphere, they can pull it out against Indiana. But just because I'm picking that does not mean I'm like in love with Northwestern. I agree with everything we said, how I'm not completely sold on them. But I do think they can pull it out tonight if they play a good game.
I like it.
Yeah. My dog this weekend. Lines haven't been released for the Saturday games yet. And I bet they're going to be close to 8-point dogs, maybe around there. I bet. But I'm going to say Illinois beats Indiana, not with a ton of confidence, but I think we didn't really talk about Illinois today, but I think yesterday was just kind of just a super weird game, and it's what happens every time Illinois plays Penn State. And Michael Jordan returned from retirement yesterday in the form of Jalen Pickett, and Illinois does this cool thing where they make a little bit above average players look like Hall of Famers, and they did that yesterday with Jalen Pickett. Illinois is so lackadaisical sometimes on defense, but I don't think yesterday they were terrible. I think it just speaks more to when Penn State is making shots, I think they can compete with anyone if they get in the field. And that would actually be one of my favorite sleepers if they can find their way into the tournament. Illinois doesn't lose 2 in a row often, I will say, under Underwood. And I think they have to have a better game plan for TJD this time around, but I don't know what is giving me that confidence after I thought they'd have a better game plan for Jalen Pickett around this time around. But complete shot in the dark. I'm saying Illinois finally gets some shots to fall on the road and wins in Indiana.
I like it. My dog of the week is Bama +3 over Tennessee. They're currently down 4 with 2 minutes left in the first half. So still a lot of basketball left, but yeah, I know it's on the road. It's in Knoxville, but I just don't see how the number 1 team in the country is a 3-point underdog. And regardless of whether they win or lose, I think it's a 1-basket game. So I think they're at least going to cover the 3 points, but I have confidence that they're going to win. But that's kind of my NCAA dog. I've talked about Bama enough. That's my NCAA dog of the week. So kind of getting into NBA. Now we're moving on to the NBA. NBA locks of the week. Lucas, what do you got?
Pacers over the Bulls tonight. Bulls are an awful basketball team. So yeah, the Pacers are going to win. We can. I'm done. We can move on. We can move on.
No, I want to add one thing to that.
If I can give an update on that game, the Bulls are up 19 with 9 minutes left in the second quarter.
They will lose.
I would like to add that
Yeah,
the fact
everyone put their entire bank accounts on the Pacers.
The fact that the Pacers are only -2.5 is, I think that they should be more. But anyways, Noah, what do you got for NBA lock?
I think Atlanta over New York tonight, or over the Knicks. So I just like how Atlanta plays at home. I think they're one of the best teams in the East, and I think they could sneak into that, I don't know, 5th to 8th spot. The East gets a little congested when you get past the 4th spot or the 3rd spot. I don't really know where Atlanta sits right now. They might be in the play-in tournament, but they play it well at home. I like their guard play a lot. I think they're too much for the Knicks tonight at home.
I like it. My lock of the week for the NBA is OKC -9.5 over Houston. I mean, I don't think there's really much analysis needed there. It's the SGA show against Houston. I don't really think I don't really think much needs to be said about the Rockets. So that's what I got. NBA underdogs of the week. We'll start with you, Lucas.
I got the Suns over the Clippers. I don't think KD's going to play because I think he's still hurt. So I don't think he's coming. I don't think he's going to play. But the Clippers have kind of been struggling lately. And who knows? Kawhi might not play because of load management. But I like the Suns. I think they're a little excited. You know, they have that little air. Oh, they got KD. Oh, they can compete for a title. So I think they're going to win over the Clippers.
Yeah, and I went with the Bulls +2.5 over the Pacers, and they're up 20 in the second. But for any normal NBA team, you could feel very confident about your underdog being up by 20 in the second, but I'm not at all. Actually, if I had to make a pick for this game right now, I'd say the Pacers come back and win by 15. But I did make this earlier before the Bulls game started and say the Bulls would win.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. To finish it up, I got Miami +1.5 over Brooklyn. I think Miami's a really good team. I think their chemistry has been really good all year. And I think Brooklyn's kind of still trying to figure things out because, they've got almost a basically new roster in a sense of guys that play. So I think that Miami, I think Miami takes that game +1.5. And that game's in Brooklyn too. Miami is up by 1. So, and then just quickly before we end this, I'll do a little quick top 25 score updates. Xavier's up 4 at the half over Marquette, and that is in Milwaukee. Virginia's up 3 over Louisville in the half in Louisville. And then with 40 seconds left in the first half, Tennessee is up 1 over Bama. So should see some interesting second halves from those top 25 matchups tonight. But yeah,
it's gonna be a good night in college basketball and in the NBA.
Yep. But I think that's all we got for you this week. So like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks.
Peace.